Most people believe they've already seen Morocco. They think of Marrakech, crowded markets, bright lanterns, the scent of spices drifting through busy streets. Or they picture the Sahara, with golden dunes under blazing sun. They may even dream of blue-painted towns or camel rides through desert silence. But that Morocco is just the surface. Beneath the tourist routes and behind the well-known postcards, there lies another Morocco. A Morocco forgotten by time, untouched by noise, and unknown to most travelers. This is the Morocco of hidden mountain villages, of ancient footpaths carved into cliffs, of valleys so quiet, so peaceful, that you can hear the wind speak to the stones. This is a land where life moves slowly, where families still grow their own food, and where hospitality means offering a stranger the last piece of bread without hesitation. In this journey, we leave the cities behind. We step off the pavement and onto trails that twist through red rock and green terraces. We follow rivers through secret canyons. We meet people whose faces are shaped by wind and sun, whose stories echo with pride and history. This is not a journey of comfort. It's a journey of truth, one that strips away the filters and shows you Morocco as it really is. Raw, real, and deeply beautiful. And in discovering this Morocco, you may discover something in yourself that's been missing. So come with us now, leave the crowds, follow the silence, and enter the Morocco the world forgot. Tucked between two mountain ridges in the center of the country, there lies a wide valley filled with green fields, stone houses, and a stillness that feels ancient. At first glance it's simple, small farms, a few scattered homes, and dirt paths winding through the hills. But as you walk deeper into this place, something begins to change. The noise inside you fades, your breath slows, and you begin to notice the world around you in a way you haven't in a long time. Every morning the valley wakes in silence, no alarms, no traffic, just the sound of birds, the distant bray of a donkey, and the soft footsteps of villagers starting their day. Women walk to the river with empty baskets and return with food for the table. Children carry firewood, old men tend to their gardens in silence. The homes are made from earth and stone. Some look like they've been there for centuries. Flat roofs covered in straw, small wooden doors, thick walls to hold out the heat. Smoke rises from chimneys as breakfast is made. Flatbread warmed on clay ovens, honey, olives, fresh mint tea. There are no shops, no hotels, no rush. Life here follows a rhythm set by the land. The sun rises and the day begins. When it sets, the village gathers under the stars. It's a rhythm of survival, yes, but also one of peace. There's a small school in the valley, one teacher, a handful of children. They learn not just from books but from the world around them, from their grandparents, from the soil, from the stars above. Travelers who find their way here often say they didn't mean to stay, but something in the silence holds them. Something in the honesty of life makes them stop and watch, and listen, and remember what it means to feel alive. This valley is not famous. It has no name that tourists search for, but it holds something far more rare, a way of life that has resisted the noise of the world. And for those who spend even a day here, it becomes unforgettable. There is a road in Morocco that doesn't just connect two places. It changes everything you thought you knew about the land. It begins in the foothills, where olive trees and rolling farms line the lower slopes of the mountains. But soon, the landscape begins to rise. The gentle curves sharpen. The road begins to climb. Every turn reveals something new. Cliffs carved by wind, valleys hidden below, distant peaks glowing in the morning sun. The air grows thinner. The light changes. It becomes clearer, sharper. Every shadow, every shape seems etched into the land with intention. This is not a modern road. It was carved from rock and dirt, long before machines ever touched it. It twists with the shape of the mountains, not against them. And as you follow its winding path, you begin to feel the scale of the world expanding around you. You may see a man walking beside his mule carrying sacks of grain or wood, a woman in layered cloth guiding goats along the edge, children racing uphill with bare feet and bright eyes shouting laughter that echoes against the stone. No one here is in a hurry, because in the mountains time does not race, it drifts. It follows the rhythm of the wind and the slope of the land, and so do the people who live here. At one point, the road reaches a narrow pass. From there, you can see it all. The deep valley behind you, the endless ridges ahead, a hawk circles overhead. The silence is almost complete. Only your breath, the wind, and the sound of the earth beneath your feet. And in that silence, you understand something simple but powerful. You are not above this land, you are part of it. The road continues winding down into another world. But once you've been this high, once you've breathed this air, you never forget it. This is not just a road, it's a passage. Into a different pace of life, into a deeper connection with the world beneath your feet. Deep in the mountains, far from the cities and highways, stands a fortress made of stone and earth. It rises from the hillside like a memory, weathered, quiet, and full of stories. The walls are cracked, worn by rain and sun. Some towers still stand tall, while others lean like old men after a long life. Ivy climbs the lower stones. Dust gathers in the corners of old rooms. The doors creak. The air inside is cool and dry, holding the weight of everything that once happened here. Centuries ago, this place was alive. Voices filled the halls, smoke rose from the kitchens, horses stood in the shade of the lower court. Inside the thick walls, leaders planned, families celebrated, guards kept watch from the towers. Now it is still, but stillness does not mean emptiness. The walls remember. They remember footsteps on stone stairs, fires lit at sunset, laughter echoing under carved ceilings. They remember music, arguments, dreams whispered in the dark. You walk through its empty corridors slowly. Dust lifts with each step. Light filters through small windows in broken patterns. You run your hand along the rough wall, tracing a path that thousands of hands may have touched before. In one corner, a painted tile remains. In another, a carved doorframe, hand-chiseled, worn smooth by years of use. These details speak of pride, of people who built something not just to survive, but to last. And it has lasted. Outside the fortress, a small village continues. A handful of families live nearby. Children herd goats just beyond the gates. A woman carries firewood up the hill. They nod as you pass, not surprised to see you, not eager to explain. They live beside the fortress, but not within it. They carry its story without trying to impress you with it. For them, the past is not a tourist attraction. It is part of the land, a piece of who they are. And for you, the visitor, it is a reminder that even in quiet ruins there is life. Even in places abandoned, there is meaning. Even in silence, there is story. Far beyond the roads and the villages, there is a trail that winds through the hills, not the green kind, but hills the color of rust, blood, and fire. These red rock hills stretch for miles, folding into one another like waves. The trail is narrow, barely more than a line of footprints across stone. No signs, no fences, no maps. Just a path worn by time and use. The land here feels raw. The rock breaks beneath your shoes. The dust rises in fine red clouds. The wind rushes through the canyons like a whisper passed from one peak to the next. You walk alone, but never feel lonely. A lizard darts across your path. A bird calls from somewhere unseen. In the distance, a donkey's bell rings softly as it climbs a hidden slope with its owner behind. Everything here is exposed. The land offers no shade, no secrets, but in that openness there is peace. You see the shape of the earth. You feel the heat of the sun. You taste the dry wind, and you know exactly where you are. Occasionally you'll find a sign of life. A pile of stones marking a resting place, a carved rock, a shelter built against the wind. Someone was here. Someone walked this same path, maybe days ago, maybe years. The trail climbs, dips, twists. It leads to no specific place, and that's the point. It is a trail of discovery, not of where you're going, but of how you're going. And somewhere along this trail, without even realizing it, you begin to walk slower, to listen more, to look longer. This is not a destination. It is a transformation. And when you leave the Red Rock Hills, you carry them with you. Not in photos, but in the way your steps feel softer, your breath feels fuller, and your soul feels a little more alive. In the fold of a quiet valley, hidden from the modern world by layers of mountain and memory, there is a village that seems untouched by time. From above, it barely stands out. The houses are built from stone and clay, the same color as the earth around them. They blend into the landscape so well that unless you're looking for them, you might pass them by without notice. But step inside the village, and time slows down. The streets are narrow and uneven, stone walls line every path. Water runs through small channels beside the walkways, flowing from a spring at the edge of the hill. Chickens wander freely. Goats nibble at low bushes, and in the air there's the smell of bread baking and smoke drifting from wood fires. Here, life is lived as it has been for generations. People wake with the sun, they work with their hands, they grow what they eat, they build what they use. The pace is slow, but never lazy, steady, respectful, quiet. Children run between homes barefoot, laughing in the dust. Elder women sit together, weaving baskets and telling stories. Men guide donkeys loaded with grain through winding paths. There are no shops, no internet, no need for either. The people here are not poor, they are rich in a different way. Rich in connection, rich in skill, rich in the knowledge of how to survive and how to share. Visitors are rare, but always welcome. A place to sit is offered without question. A glass of tea is poured hot and sweet. You are not a tourist here, you are a guest. And in that role you are expected to listen, not just speak, to observe, not just consume. There is no rush in this village, no pressure to move on. You can spend an hour watching bread rise in a clay oven, or sit under the shade of a tree and hear how this valley once held more families, more animals, more songs. Life has changed, they'll tell you, but not here, not yet, and perhaps not ever. Because this village is not holding on to the past, it is simply living in it, not by force but by choice. And in doing so, it offers a rare glimpse into something the modern world has almost forgotten: how to be fully present, fully human, fully home. There's a place deep in the hills where water and life meet in perfect balance. A river flows through the heart of a narrow valley, carving its path through stone and soil. Along its banks, green bursts into every direction: trees, crops, flowers, and the endless reach of gardens kept by quiet hands. The sound of the river is constant, not loud, not forceful, just steady, like breath, like thought. It moves around rocks, under wooden bridges, past stone homes, always flowing, always giving. The people here live close to the water. They depend on it for everything, for drinking, cooking, washing, feeding, and growing. They've built small channels from the main stream, guiding the water through the village and into the soil. The gardens here are miracles of design and patience. Tomatoes grow beside mint, lettuce near onions. Fig trees offer shade. Vines crawl along wooden frames. Everything has its place. Nothing is wasted. Every drop of water is a treasure. Children carry buckets from the stream. Elders turn the soil with quiet care. Chickens wander through rows of plants, their feathers dusted with red clay. It's not a farm, it's a living system. Part garden, part home, part classroom. Walking along the river path, you feel the air shift, cooler, cleaner. The scent of herbs rises with each breeze. The sound of insects, of birds, of wind moving through leaves. It surrounds you. You don't just see life here, you feel it. There is a rhythm to the work. Morning is for watering and harvesting. Afternoon is for resting under trees. Evening is for sharing meals, stories, and quiet reflection beside the flowing water. And as you sit beside the river, you begin to understand something simple. This garden is more than survival, it is harmony. A contract between humans and the land. A partnership built on respect. In a world where speed and waste dominate, this place is a reminder. Beauty grows best when cared for slowly, and peace flows easiest where the land is allowed to breathe. Above the valleys, above the rivers and villages and farms, lies a high flat land where the sky seems closer than ever. This is the plateau, a stretch of open earth perched between the mountain peaks where the air is thin and clean, and the silence is absolute. To reach it, you climb. There are no roads, only paths shaped by time and footsteps. The wind grows colder, the horizon stretches farther, and then suddenly, the world opens. The plateau is wide and wild, the grass is short, golden and dry. Stones cover the ground in scattered patterns. The sun feels stronger, the shadows feel longer, and everywhere the sky endless, pale blue, stretching in every direction. There are no trees, no buildings, just space to walk, to breathe, to think. From up here the world below feels distant. The noise of the modern world disappears completely. You can see for miles, the curve of the earth, the lines of the hills, the distant sparkle of a river winding far below. Sometimes you'll see movement, a shepherd guiding animals across the land, a group of travelers resting under a rock ledge, a tent made of fabric and wood, standing alone in the wind. Life is rare up here but not absent. It moves slowly, gently, with great care. You sit on the edge of a ridge, legs hanging over stone, and look out across everything. The sun begins to lower, the sky shifts to orange, the silence deepens, and in that moment, you feel it. A stillness not just in the land, but inside you. This plateau is more than a landscape. It is a mirror. It reflects what you bring with you, and shows it back with perfect honesty. Up here there is no one to impress, no tasks to finish, no goals to chase, only you, the sky, and the endless open land. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. At the farthest edge of the mountains, where the land begins to flatten and the wind carries sand instead of leaves, there is a village that stands as the final breath of green before the desert begins. It is small. Just a few dozen homes built low to the ground, made of thick clay walls that hold out heat during the day and keep warmth through the night. There are no paved roads leading here, only a long stretch of dirt, stones, and silence. But the people who live here do not see themselves as remote. For them, this is the center of everything, the meeting point of two worlds. Behind them, the mountains hold water and life. Ahead of them, the desert stretches into forever. They've learned to live between these forces, to grow crops with little water, to build shelters that survive the sun, to keep traditions alive when the land offers no comfort. In the morning, the village wakes slowly. The light comes early and strong, people walk in shadows keeping cool. By noon, everything is still. Animals rest, doors stay closed, the world holds its breath in the heat. But in the late afternoon the village comes alive again. Children run through the streets, men gather near the well, women sit together preparing food, speaking softly. The air begins to cool, and with it, the scent of baked bread and roasted spices fills the wind. The houses face west toward the open desert. As the sun sinks, the walls of the village glow like fire, and beyond them the dunes begin, soft, endless, golden. At night people sit outside on woven mats, they share stories, they look at the stars, and they listen, not to music but to the wind moving across the sand, a sound both sharp and soft, like a whisper that has traveled across centuries. This village doesn't fear the desert, it honors it, it respects its power, its silence, and its truth. And for those who come here, even for a short time, that respect becomes something deeply felt, something that stays long after you leave. When the last light fades from the hills and the warmth of the sun gives way to the cool breath of evening, the true beauty of Morocco's highlands is revealed. Above, not below, the night sky. It begins slowly, a few stars at first, sharp, bright, then more, dozens, hundreds, thousands. The longer you look, the deeper it gets, layers of light stretching into the distance. No buildings block the view, no lights compete with the stars, only the sky, pure and wide. You lie on your back on a rooftop or a flat stone or the dry earth itself. You don't need a telescope, you don't even need to speak. The stars do all the talking. The Milky Way stretches above you like a river of light. Planets hang low and still. You may see a shooting star and then another and another. The universe doesn't show itself in pieces here, it arrives in full. For the people of the hills, the sky is a map, a clock, and a storybook. They know the stars by name, they remember their movements. They pass down stories, not just constellations, but truths carried in the stars for generations. Children learn these stories before they learn to write. Elders repeat them around firelight, their voices low and steady, the flames reflecting in their eyes. The sky is not just beautiful, it's a guide. It reminds them when to plant, when to travel, when to rest. It gives them comfort, perspective, hope. And for visitors, it gives something else. Silence. A kind of silence that stretches deep into your mind and clears out the noise you didn't even know you were holding. You lie there and realize how rare this feeling is. To be so small and yet so complete. To be so still and yet so alive. And as the stars shift above you, as the cool night wraps around your shoulders, you understand why people come to these places and never want to leave. Because in a world of flashing screens and endless distractions, the simple act of watching the night sky feels like remembering who you really are. There is a path that winds between the hills, a dirt trail barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side. It moves gently across the land, sometimes dipping into valleys, sometimes climbing over rocks, always moving forward without rush or reason. It's not marked on any map, it doesn't lead to a tourist site, but those who know it call it the path of stories. Along this path, you'll find signs that people have walked here for centuries. Carved stones, fire circles blackened by old flames, messages scratched into rock, a pile of wood stacked for the next traveler to find. This was once part of a trade route. Salt and cloth moved this way, words and songs moved faster, people came on foot, on horseback, on mules. They brought goods, yes, but they also brought stories. And those stories stayed. Every turn has a tale. The tree that split during a storm, the cave where a traveler found shelter from the snow, the hill where two men met and never left each other's side. Villagers nearby still tell these stories. Some believe the path holds memory, that every footstep leaves something behind, that the land remembers not just movement, but meaning. As you walk it, you begin to feel this too. The silence between your steps grows heavier, the wind feels filled with voices. You start to notice details you wouldn't see anywhere else. The way a branch curves like a question, the way the stones fall into patterns, the way the trail always seems to know where it's going, even if you don't. You might not meet anyone. Or you might meet someone who has walked this path many times. They may share a story, or they may simply nod and keep walking, as if to say, the story is already yours now. Because this path is not just a way to travel through land, it's a way to travel through time, through memory, through the unseen threads that connect people across generations. And when you step off the path, when it disappears behind you into the hills, you'll feel different. Not because the journey changed you, but because the stories did. As the journey pushes further into the open south, the landscape begins to change. The hills flatten, trees become rare, the earth grows dry and cracked. You feel the shift in the wind, drier, warmer, sharper. This is where the desert begins. It doesn't arrive all at once, it creeps in slowly. A few patches of sand, a wider sky, a silence so deep it feels like it has been waiting for you. And then one night you find yourself gathered around a fire. The air is cold, despite the day's heat. The stars above are endless. The fire is your only light, your only warmth. Around you are others, travelers, locals, or maybe no one at all. But the circle is sacred, it always has been. Someone tells a story. Not a long one, but one that feels old and true. Someone else adds to it. Another voice follows. The stories are shared the way tea is poured. Slowly, with respect. No one interrupts, no one needs to prove anything. The flames flicker. The wind hums through the dunes. The desert wind moves through everything. Your clothes, your thoughts, your memories. It carries away the noise you didn't realize you were still holding. And in the stillness that follows, something else arrives. Clarity. Around this fire you understand why people have always been drawn to the desert. Not for what it gives, but for what it strips away. The desert doesn't speak in detail. It speaks in truth, in wide silences, in long shadows, in wind. And as the fire burns low and the last story fades into the dark, you feel something permanent shift inside you. Not everything can be captured. Not everything should be explained. Some experiences are meant to be lived, and carried quietly like a secret forever. At the very edge of the land, where the mountains end, the roads disappear and only sky and dust remain, there is a village. It is not large. A dozen homes, a single well, a few animals grazing under the last line of trees. But for those who reach it, this village feels like the end of the world, not in despair, but in stillness. You stand at the edge of the last roof, and beyond you is nothing but space, sand, light, wind. The people here live simply. They have learned to take little and make it last. Water is shared carefully, food is grown with effort, time is stretched like fabric, folded, repaired, passed on. No one complains, no one hurries. You arrive a stranger, but you're not treated like one. A place to sit is offered without words. A cup of tea appears. Children stare quietly, then laugh. A dog lies at your feet. No one asks why you've come. No one expects you to stay. This is a place that does not hold tightly to anything, not even itself. And maybe that's what makes it feel so sacred. This village is not meant for cameras, it is not meant for headlines, it simply exists. At the edge of something vast and eternal. And in its quiet presence you begin to understand the strength that comes from being at peace with your place in the world. Some places shout, this one whispers. And the message is clear: you don't need more to feel complete, you only need to be still long enough to notice what's already around you. The journey is nearly over. You've seen mountains rise like frozen waves. You've walked through valleys where silence grew louder than words. You've met people who live with less, but give more. You've felt the wind of the desert on your skin and the weight of the stars on your chest. Now the road turns inward. It's not a path marked by maps. It doesn't climb a ridge or cross a river. It moves through your memory, through your thoughts, through your heart. You came to Morocco to explore a country, but along the way, you explored something more. The part of yourself that responds to stillness, to honesty, to beauty unpolished by perfection. You've learned that adventure isn't always fast, that peace isn't always quiet, that the most powerful places don't need to be loud to be unforgettable. As you walk this final stretch, you look back, not at the photos you took, but at the way you felt. You remember the warmth of a stranger's welcome, the taste of bread baked by hand, the sound of wind across open land, the depth of a night without noise, the power of a story told without urgency. And you realize you are not the same person who began this journey. The land has shaped you, the silence has cleared you, the people have humbled you, the path has led you home, not just to Morocco, but to yourself. If this journey spoke to something inside you, if the silence, the stillness, the raw beauty of Morocco stayed with you long after the images faded, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel, not to follow content but to follow meaning. Because what we create isn't just video, it's a search for the stories behind the places, the feeling behind the view, the truth behind the silence. We go where others don't, we slow down where others rush, we listen when the world shouts. And what we find in forgotten villages, in mountain passes, in fire circles, in star-filled skies, is the part of life that still feels real. If you believe the world is more than just destinations, if you're drawn to the roads without names, if you want to feel something deeper every time you press play, then this is your channel, this is your path. Subscribe now, join the unseen travelers, and let the journey change you. One place, one story, one breath at a time.